I'll take it. It's an arrest. it's an arrest. You know, we've been waiting for an arrest, and I guess we finally got one. It wasn't who we thought it was going to be. It's not Adam Schiff. It's not Adam Kinzinger. It's not Liz Cheney. It's not anyone named Biden. It's not anyone named Clinton or Obama. But, you know, it's an arrest. We gotta start somewhere. What's up? This is Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. Yes, breaking news. Breaking news today. A suspect has been arrested in the January 6th pipe bomb case that happened here just momentarily. It was just a little while ago. There's supposedly going to be a press conference. The Department of Justice, I believe it is, or is it the FBI? Probably. I mean, I know they're both kind of the same thing. But the Department of Justice, here's basically what we know. The guy's name is Brian Cole. And the guy lives in Woodbridge, Virginia, which is, you know, right outside D.C. The FBI has raided the home of the J6 pipe bomber, who is 30-year-old Brian Cole of Woodbridge, Virginia. They believe this is his father's home. Massive amount of police, FBI, DHS, and ATF are staged. R-A-R-E is what it should read. Are staged outside of the home and searching inside and outside toward the back of the home in the woods. And multiple cars. So you can see here there's live. This was taken live earlier. This is the cul-de-sac. Hold on one second. Let me make sure. There we go. Why can't I hear? Oh, I guess that's what I'm listening to. I guess I'm just listening to the thing. Anyway, so this is the cul-de-sac. All the black Suburbans means the FBI's there. There's some kind of fire truck, whatever. Maybe it's, I don't know what it's, bomb sniff. Who knows? But that's what was going on earlier today. Prince William County Police and Fire. They were streaming that earlier. So we'll see what was supposed to happen. Now there's a lot of speculation about this being a woman. That was the thing. Last week they said it was a woman, and there's people going back and forth now on X. They're saying last week they thought it was a female because she was so short. Now they're saying that it's this guy Brian Cole Jr., who is 33 years old, lives with his parents, of course. Anyway, we'll see exactly what happens, what comes of this. There will be an announcement. Now again, this is just an arrest. This is not a conviction. This is not anything else. And this is just scratching the surface. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of bad, evil deed doers who are still walking around out there. And that is something that, you know, we're a little, you know, a little more action would be great from the Department of Justice. I feel. I think like one of the things we wanted, that Matt Gaetz kind of swift justice is what we wanted. We didn't want, you know, this slow kind of justice that's happening. Anyway, so here's what we got going on today. First of all, thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast if you haven't already. And if you have, then great. You're no further action needed. And unless you want to hit the dinger. And if you hit the dinger, that means that you're going to get not only the podcast delivered to you, but you're also, every time we post something new on social media, you're going to get that delivered to you as well. Now, there's a lot of random news going on, and I don't know, it's really kind of interesting. It's kind of all over the place. Yesterday, President Donald Trump made an announcement with Ford about auto prices. There's also the Trump accounts, which have been going on. There's a new surge happening in New Orleans, Louisiana, Operation Catahoula Crunch, which is just fun to say. I don't know. I haven't heard John Kennedy say anything about it yet, but I'm awaiting that.
Federal agents have their big operation underway in the Big Easy. So far, they have taken some 20 people off the street. What we saw yesterday is they started in a Home Depot to the northwest side of the city, and that is where they often pick up illegals looking.
So I've fixed it. Thank you, everybody, for a lot of people on the chat freaking out. I don't know why. That happens from time to time. It's a glitch with the iPad, but whatever. So anyway, the Operation Catahoula Crunch. So here's what you're seeing, or here's what you're hearing. There is a Fox News guy, Mike, and I forget his last name, and he's walking down the streets of New Orleans with the Border Patrol agent. He's got a microphone. He's interviewing him. He's talking about what this Catahoula Crunch. And again, I love the names. If I were ever in the FBI, or if I were ever in the Border Patrol, whatever, I would want the job of coming up with the names for operations. If I was in the military, like, again, I don't know, you know, what my skill set is. I'm okay with a gun, but I don't know that, you want me operating the sniper rifle or the heavy machine gun. I probably, a little too dangerous to put me in the cockpit of a plane, something like that. But man, I could name some operations. So whatever office of the Pentagon handles that, that's where I would want to be stationed for sure. But anyway, so he's walking down the street and he's wearing, now keep in mind, they're in the French Quarter, they're in New Orleans. He's wearing a flak jacket that says media. So, and again, and I know it's dangerous. I know the Border Patrol are wearing flak jackets, but they're also in putting themselves in harm's way. But it's just interesting to me that the media guy is wearing his media flak jacket in New Orleans, or New Orleans, which is just that's kind of funny. I thought that one cracked me up a little bit, but that's what's going on. I mean, like I said, there's so much stuff constantly going on. But I do want to get back real quick to the pipe bomber, because this is interesting. As soon as this news came out, all right, I'm going to share with you a couple of different variations of this. I'm going to share with you the New York Times, because this is interesting. This was an article from November 13th was it this year? Yeah, this year. This was about a little less than a month ago. Okay. This is from the New York Times. Far right's fixation on January 6th pipe bomb suspect reaches FBI's top ranks. So they're saying that the pipe bomb suspect on January 6th is it's a vast far right-wing conspiracy, and that far right-wing conspiracy theorists are fixated, just totally fixated on the bomb, on the January 6th pipe bomb suspect. For all his bluster, the FBI's Deputy Director Dan Bongino played a central role in stoking expectations that the Bureau would quickly find the suspects who planted pipe bombs. And they're talking a little bit about also Dan Bongino on his podcast. Before Dan Bongino was the Deputy Director of the FBI, he was Dan Bongino, host of the Dan Bongino Show. And he talked a lot about January 6th. He talked about the inside assets. He talked about the pipe bomber. He talked about the untold stories and the criminals who were still out there, and how this was, just a massive mess of gigantic proportion. Anyway, this is Glenn Thrush. He wrote, as the conflagration, which, by the way, anytime a story starts with conflagration, you gotta ixnay that. You gotta cancel that. I really don't want to read any further. Any journalist who believes they are so superior and so eloquent and so elite that they use a word like conflagration as the third word they don't want people to read this. If you really, know why Donald Trump is so successful? I'm going to tell you why Donald Trump is so successful, because he talks at a third grade level. He says stuff like, very bad people. It's a very bad situation. Not good. You'll know Donald Trump says it's crazy. It's bad. He doesn't say, as the conflagration over the FT, he goes, there's craziness. They've gone crazy. People can understand that. If a third grader understands crazy, a third grader understands bad people. Donald Trump does it on purpose. A lot of people say, oh, Donald Trump's not very intelligent. All he ever says is it's not good. Not good. A lot of very bad people did a lot of very bad things. Guess what? Everybody understands that. Glenn Thrush is decreasing his reach with every multi-syllabic word. As the conflagration over the Epstein files rages within Republican ranks, another obsession of the far right threatens unity in the Trump coalition. The stalled investigation into the planting of pipe bombs outside party headquarters in Washington the night before January 6, 2021. Administration officials, most notably the Deputy Director Dan Bongino, have pushed back hard against a report from The Blaze, a far-right news outlet founded by Glenn Beck, that named a law enforcement official as the suspect based on a computer analysis of the way the person walked. The crime remains unsolved. A week of near 24-hour work on recent open source leads in the case has yet to produce a breakthrough, and some of the media reporting regarding prior persons of interest is grossly inaccurate and serves only to mislead the public, Mr. Bongino wrote in a lengthy post on social media on Thursday that included an attack on a House Republican and an aggrieved defense of his own work. You know what? I admire the Dan Bongino post, and I admire that he's attacking Republicans who are attacking him. But the fact of the matter is, now we're going to go to the live updates. Hold on, wait a minute. This is not the right one. Now I want to go, to the New York Times. They don't even have a live. Oh, here we go. That's January. Wait, where is the one I just saw? Well, anyway, I guess we'll pull up NPR. FBI arrests suspect in investigation into pipe bombs planted near DNC RNC before January 6th attack. Oh, wait, Donald Trump is speaking. I wonder if he's speaking about the Congo, but there's a good chance that he's actually talking about the pipe bombers as well. In fact, we're gonna dip. I'm gonna pull it up. We're gonna dip in real quick because if Donald Trump is indeed speaking about the pipe bomb, then we want to make sure that we get that announcement live. And it's one of those things where, Donald Trump's going to be talking about this.
Arab Emirates.
He's talking about it's a signing ceremony, but I want to make sure we didn't miss anything important. Sometimes he leads off with like a big breaking news announcement. So let's just go back to the beginning very quickly and see what he has to say.
A
Here we go.
special occasion for a lot of reasons.
People are very, this is a signing of the with Rwanda and the Congo, the peace agreement, by the way.
So this is a special occasion for a lot of reasons, but number one is it's our first occasion in this building using it for peace. And it's all about peace, and it's a great honor. And Marco, you've done a fantastic job in getting it ready. But it's a spectacular building, and we all appreciate it. And very importantly,
he must be talking, by the way, about the brand new Donald J. Trump Institute of Peace. I think that's exactly what he's talking about. Donald Trump, the State Department has named the Institute of Peace after President Donald Trump, which is kind of cool. Donald Trump, he has a lot of buildings. He's not, it's not like you'd be hard pressed to find a building that says Trump on it. There's a lot of buildings with the name Trump on it, but usually Donald Trump has to build them himself. This one he built through peace coalitions, and here it is. This is it. This is the new United States Institute of Peace, the Donald J. Trump building. And you can see it must be brand new because they've even got the little genie lift still out front and the scaffolding coming down. But this is, I believe, where they are for this ceremony that he's discussing.
We're settling a war that's been going on for decades with millions and millions of people. What happens? They said it much better before, but you will probably do better up here. But I'd love to have you say how you felt, because it is an amazing day. Great day for Africa, great day for the world, and for these two countries.
Okay, so far he's sticking to the
Congo,
script.
Millions and
he's
millions
talking about the Congo and Rwanda. I imagine there may be a press conference at the end. Maybe there'll be a time for questions to be asked and answered and that kind of thing. And if that happens, or when that happens, we'll dip back in, because I think it's very important. And if I know President Donald Trump, like I know President Donald Trump, he's going to talk for a very long time, and he's going to say some things about pretty much. Well, I mean, he's going to say some things that are going to ruffle some feathers. Yesterday, for example, he doubled down, and this is the thing I still don't understand. And I guess the media, they know kind of what they're doing. They know that Donald Trump doesn't change his mind on anything. They know that Donald Trump never says, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Or Donald Trump says, I was being too harsh. Never happens. Never once has happened. And so they asked President Donald Trump once again about Ilhan Omar, the Somali-born representative from Minnesota, and how he said she married her brother and she needs to get out of Congress and she should be deported and Somalians are garbage and all that other stuff. He mentioned it in the cabinet meeting earlier this week, and he was asked about it again yesterday, right before he made this announcement about the Ford Motor Company and the more affordable loans for automobiles.
The mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey, is saying that he's actually proud to have the largest Somali community in the country, and his police chief.
Well, then he's a fool.
Well, his police chief is also
I
saying
wouldn't be proud to have the largest Somalian. Look at their nation. Look how bad their nation is. It's not even a nation. It's just people walking around killing each other.
Yesterday we played you the clip of Jacob Frey. He's the mayor, and he was the one that was refuting Donald Trump's claims that Somalians are garbage, and he was refuting Donald Trump's claims that they all need to get out of the country and that they, I guess, stole billions of dollars or whatever, and that they were destroying Minneapolis, Minnesota, which a lot of people in Minnesota actually concur with that statement. And Donald Trump goes, I don't think he's a fool. It's not even a country. It's just people walking around It's just people walking around killing each other. Somalia is not a country. It's just a group of people wandering around in the streets, ending each other's lives, is Donald Trump's new take.
The mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey, is saying that he's actually proud to have the largest Somali community in the country, and his police chief
Well, then he's a fool.
well, his police chief is also
I
saying
wouldn't be
they
proud to
might.
have the largest Somalian. Look at their nation. Look how bad their nation is. It's not even a nation. It's just people walking around killing each other. Look,
By the way, I'm sorry, I did interrupt again. That just reminds me of like a video game, right? Like Call of Duty or something, or Apex, your Fortnite or anything. It's not even a country. It's just a bunch of people walking around killing each other until, one's left and the storm comes in and they're doing little dances and things. Anyway, I digress.
Somalians have taken billions of dollars out of our country. They've taken billions and billions of dollars. They have a representative, Ilhan Omar, who they say married her brother. It's a fraud. She tries to deny it now, but you can't really deny it because, it just happened. She shouldn't be allowed to be a congresswoman, and I'm sure people are looking at that. And she should be thrown the hell out of our country. And most of those people, they have destroyed Minnesota, okay? Minnesota, you have an incompetent governor. You have a crooked governor. He's crooked as hell, but he's incompetent. Walz he should be ashamed. That beautiful land, that beautiful state, it's a hellhole right now. And the Somalians should be out of here. They've destroyed our country. And all they do is complain, complain, complain. You have her. She's always talking about the Constitution provides me with, go back to your own country and figure out your Constitution. All she does is complain about this country. Without this country, she would not be in very good shape. She probably wouldn't be alive right now. So Somalia is considered by many to be the worst country on earth. I don't know. I haven't been there. I won't be there anytime soon. I hope. But what the Somalian people have done to Minnesota is not even believable. It's not even believable. And a lot of it starts with the governor. A lot of it starts with Barack Hussein Obama, because that's when people started coming in. And you have to have people come in that are going to love our country, cherish our country. They want to kiss our country goodnight. They talk about our country. We want them to pray for our country. This is not the people living in Minnesota. And she's a disaster. She should not be, and her friends shouldn't be allowed. Frankly, they shouldn't even be allowed to be Congress people, okay? They shouldn't even be allowed to be Congress people because they don't represent the interests of our country.
All right, so there's Donald Trump saying, look, she doesn't deserve to be a congressperson. Rashida Tlaib, AOC, the rest of the squad, they don't deserve to sit in the seat of power at the Capitol building. They don't deserve any of that stuff. They deserve to be, sent back from wherever it is they came from, that country where people are just wandering around killing each other. And that is, and that's something that Donald Trump has said now a couple times this week. And there is somebody who does have Minnesota's best interests at heart and is stepping up, by the way. You've got horrible leadership. The Mayor Frey, that guy has been overrun. He almost lost his job to a Somalian refugee immigrant. Ilhan Omar is just treating the state horribly. The billions of dollars of fraud is just disgusting. And Tampon Tim Walz is pathetically weak. Tampon Tim Walz has just basically abdicated any power he has, and he's so ineffective. But there is somebody stepping up. There is somebody stepping up saying, I will save Minnesota. There is somebody stepping up saying, I can do this. There is someone stepping up saying, I know what needs to be done, and I'm just the guy to do it. And that is MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell. Mike Lindell is, he's registered, and he's raising campaign funds for a Minnesota gubernatorial bid. He applied on Wednesday through the state's website. So that is the first challenger that we know of to Tampon Tim Walz, at least that I know of. He's going to announce his plans on December 11th, he told the Minnesota Star Tribune. You may remember Mike Lindell is getting politically active after the 2020 election. He spent a lot of his own money, almost got bankrupted, was kicked out of pretty much every retail location in the entire world. His MyPillow product was kicked out of, I know, Bed Bath & Beyond, which I think has now filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy. So it was really a Patriot's tale. Now he's applied to become the governor or run for governor of Minnesota. And he will, here it is. There's a dozen Republicans, pardon me, who have announced their run for Minnesota, including Lisa Demuth, the state's House Speaker, Kristen Robbins, Chris Medell, prominent Twin Cities attorney. There's a lot of them, apparently. Lindell has been at the forefront of controversy and legal issues over the past several years, recently losing a $2.3 million defamation lawsuit over comments he made about a former employee of Denver-based Dominion Voting Systems. Anyway, it's interesting. Donald Trump has not said anything about support or endorsements or anything like that. It's probably too early and too soon. It's probably too early and too soon to tell any and all of that kind of stuff. However, somebody's got to do something, and Donald Trump wants to step up to the plate. Now, Ilhan Omar released a video that I didn't get a chance to watch the entire thing, but apparently she's, get this, threatening violence or something. Yeah, she's threatening people who are collaborating with President Donald Trump. Here, let's listen to it for the first time together.
As much as Trump and his cronies want to act like we have no power to respond, the truth is we are more powerful than we think we are. And I want to underscore the importance of using every single leverage that we have at our arsenal, because we do have a lot of leverage. We need to make sure that those who are collaborating with the authoritarian regime pay a costly price. As much as Trump and his cronies want to act like we have no power to respond, the truth is we are more powerful than we think we are. And I want to underscore the importance of using every single leverage that we have at our arsenal, because we do have a lot of leverage. We need to make sure that those who are collaborating with the authoritarian regime pay a costly price.
Okay, I ran it again because I want to make sure I had the words. I want to make sure I heard it exactly. And it's really annoying the first time, super annoying the second time. But we want to make sure that those who are collaborating with the regime pay a costly price. That was Ilhan Omar's threat to President Donald Trump, and not just President Donald Trump, but everybody that collaborates with him. I don't know what she means by collaborator. Does she mean somebody who works for President Donald Trump? Does she mean somebody who's in the administration? Does she mean officials in various different states that are allowing ICE to come in and deport illegal aliens? Is that what she's talking about? Is she talking about the FBI who's investigating the corruption in Minnesota? Is she asking for probably any Republican? Did anybody who voted for President Donald Trump, does that sound like somebody who collaborated with him? I feel like if you vote for somebody to give them power, that's a collaboration. So it's really not at all shocking, but also slightly shocking that Ilhan Omar, who is, as we know, she is constantly getting threatened by the president, or I guess President Donald Trump has not threatened, but questioned her ability to serve or even to be in this country. I don't know that ramping up attacks on the guy who's trying to investigate whether or not you can be denaturalized is the smart move, but then I don't think anyone's ever accused Ilhan Omar of being a smart person. So that's where we stand right now. But it's definitely I don't know if she's trying to get the Somali community to rise up in some kind of revolution, but it definitely is something that, people have been investigated for far less than what she just said, namely President Donald Trump. Now, there was something else that happened today. Where was it? It was on the feed here. I wanted to, they're pulling up all the clips today of Donald Trump talking about the Congo. And I think that it looks like the speech is over. So it looks like there's not going to be any kind of press gaggle or anyone else talking about anything. But there was yesterday, President Donald Trump, Treasury Secretary. Hang on, I'm multitasking here and it's not working really well. His Treasury Secretary, guy by the name of Scott Bessent. Scott Bessent was on CNBC, the New York Times. They do this live thing where they interview people. It's called the Deal Book Summit. And I want to play this because this is just excellent. Scott Bessent just destroyed this guy about the Biden hoax, and then afterward went on Sean Hannity to basically destroy him again. Now, the media on the left, what they're trying to do now is they have a new narrative that they're trying to push. The New York Times published photos of President Donald Trump in the cabinet meeting the other day. In fact, let me see if I can find those. They tried to accuse President Donald Trump of falling asleep in the cabinet meeting. They accused him of bandaging his hands. Here it is. The New York Times. Trump appears to fight sleep during cabinet meeting. President Trump began the meeting by criticizing media coverage about him showing signs of fatigue. Last month, he appeared to doze off during a meeting in the Oval Office. So the New York Times did a lengthy story about President Donald Trump sleeping during the cabinet meeting. Now, the cabinet meeting was broadcast live. Here's CNN. Images of Trump appearing to close his eyes during Oval Office. That was the Oval Office event. Let me see. Trump asleep, cabinet meeting. And then they always focus in on the bandage on his hand. Jimmy Kimmel mocks Trump. There was somebody I saw, they made a list of all of the photos, different angles. So this is their new obsession. Well, Secretary Bessent was on with the New York Times Deal Book Summit yesterday, and he was asked about that. He was asked about President Donald Trump's fitness for office, I guess you would say. And he did the Scott Bessent equivalent of going off.
The question is this is like a new, is this a new normal?
Andrew, there's no new normal. And I can tell you that I actually don't read the New York Times anymore. That sometimes I do watch CNBC, but occasionally people send me articles, and there's just this fever swamp. And you're now a pop historian with 1929, and in 20, 30, 40, 50 years, the New York Times is no longer the paper of record. You can't go. I read this article. President Trump is slowing down. President Trump's mental capacity. It is 100% fake. That he only called me twice at 2 a.m. last week instead of 3 times.
You're saying he called you? I believe that he called you at 2 or 3 in the morning.
That whole narrative. You had what was one of the greatest scandals of all time. That the coverage of the Biden administration, Joe Biden's diminished capacity, and the cover-up.
And that's why it's probably fair to raise these questions.
Where was the New York Times? We just had a 3-hour cabinet meeting yesterday, Andrew. For 10 months, the Biden administration did not have a cabinet meeting. How are you going to invoke the 25th Amendment if the cabinet secretaries never see the president, which they didn't? That I hear from people in the Treasury building that I see President Trump more in a day than my predecessor saw Joe Biden in half a year.
So he brings up an amazing point. First of all, he's taken it to the New York Times and saying, look, you clowns have destroyed your credibility. You're no longer the paper of record. Nobody believes you. I certainly don't believe you. I don't read you. And it's all because you are hell-bent on publishing falsehoods about Donald Trump. And he said, somebody forwarded me this article where it sounds like, or where you're saying that Donald Trump is diminished. He's fatigued. He's tired. He's not physically able to do the job anymore. He's getting older. He's slowing down. And Scott Bessent says, you know nothing. I know everything. He calls me at 2 a.m. multiple times. The guy is working nonstop. He never sleeps. He's moving constantly. He's flying here. He's flying there. He's creating peace deals. He's doing more in a day than Joe Biden ever did. And that was the 9th. By the way, we should point out that was the 9th cabinet meeting this year. And Joe Biden, in his entire 4 years as president, had 9 cabinet meetings. So Donald Trump is outperforming Joe Biden, and so is the cabinet 4 times. And one of those cabinet meetings Joe Biden had, he didn't even attend. Do you remember? Dr. Jill Biden, his wife, was in charge of that meeting. Dr. Jill, Joe Biden's wife, was in charge of a cabinet meeting because Joe Biden was too feeble and frail to attend. So he sent his wife. Could you imagine what the New York Times would write? I want you to imagine what the Washington Post would say, or CNN, or any of these other, The View. Oh my God. If there were a cabinet meeting and Melania walked in, I mean, I'd be okay with it. But if Melania walked in and sat down in the seat of honor between Marco Rubio and between Pete Hegseth, and she said, my husband is not coming today. He's resting. I will be leading the meeting. Let's start with Secretary of War Hegseth. Could you imagine? I mean, it would be the end of the world. They'd be screaming and yelling 25th Amendment. They'd be screaming and yelling he's unfit for office. They'd be screaming and yelling this is the biggest scandal in history. Joe Biden literally did that. Joe Biden sent his wife, or whoever was in charge, sent his wife to a cabinet meeting, sat down. She led the thing. God only knows what they talked about. But one of the things that Scott Bessent pointed out is true. You cannot invoke the 25th Amendment if the cabinet never meets. If the cabinet doesn't see the guy that they're supposedly kicking out of office because he's mentally unstable or not fit for office, if they never see him, they can't make that kind of judgment. Not only were they hiding Joe Biden from the media, not only were they hiding Joe Biden from from public view, they were hiding Joe Biden from his own cabinet. There were cabinet members who admitted, and you can read Jake Tapper. You don't read Jake Tapper's book. I read it, so you don't have to. There were cabinet members who admitted, I didn't see Joe Biden in 9 months. 9 months. From October to like the following June, they never saw Joe Biden in person. They didn't see him at I don't remember which department it was. They didn't, it was all, just smoke and mirrors. They were like, I saw Joe Biden at a cabinet meeting last October, and I didn't see him again until the following June. Could you imagine not seeing your boss for that long? I mean, a lot of people will be like, woohoo, 9 months without seeing my boss. Great. Score. But that is what Joe Biden's administration was like. Joe Biden hid from public. He hid from the press. He hid from his own cabinet. And there are a couple of reasons. The first reason is, number one, if the cabinet doesn't interact with Joe Biden, they can't decide that he should be removed from office via the 25th Amendment. And if the cabinet never meets, they can't invoke the 25th Amendment. Because that's what it takes. It takes a majority of the cabinet. It takes the vice president. They've all got to sign the letter. They've all got to take it to the Senate, all that kind of stuff. They need to have Chuck Schumer, sign it as well. It's a big hassle. And so in order to protect Joe Biden's legacy, they kept him away from his own staff. Donald Trump's on the phone with his staff every day. You know that Scott Bessent, Pete Hegseth, Marco Rubio, they are constantly on the phone with President Donald Trump. They are constantly fielding calls, probably text messages. He's got how many people in the cabinet? 14? How many people in the cabinet? 14? Probably. There's a lot. There's a lot. He mentioned it earlier when Marjorie Taylor Greene was like, he never takes my calls anymore. And he's like, look, lady, I got 14 cabinet members. I got 235 Congress people. I got 53 senators. Everybody wants my attention. Everybody wants my attention. It's tough to give it to every single person, but there's everybody, and they're all very important. Homeland Security, forget about it. The thing with the boats in Venezuela. Oh, he didn't back down on that either. He said, these boats that we destroy save lives. And there's a harsh reality that I guess a lot of people don't realize because it doesn't really hit this hard, this close to home. But the harsh reality is that sometimes in order to save a life, you have to take a life, right? I mean, think about that. Somebody breaks into your house with a gun and starts shooting randomly into your home. In order to protect you and your family, you have to probably kill that person. You have to take out your gun and shoot them first, or shoot them, to get them to stop. Active shooters, whenever there's an active shooter anywhere, the first thing they do is they put a bullet in the guy's head to take him out. Because why? They want to save lives. That's the first thing you do. So sometimes you have to take a life to save a life. Donald Trump is looking at these boats in the exact same way. It's an active shooter. Once the boat loaded with fentanyl, once the boat loaded with cocaine, once the boat loaded with illicit drugs being brought into the United States by illegal aliens who are not crossing over the border in the proper way. I mean, they're breaking multiple laws. There's the narcotics laws, there's the immigration laws. I'm sure there's a bunch of maritime laws that they're breaking. I'm pretty sure that these people are not like up to snuff on safety standards, whatever. They get in this boat with their multiple high-speed Yamaha engines and they're, hightailing it across the Gulf of Mexico, and they're trying to get their drugs into this country or whatever it is. Sorry, Gulf of America. I think they're actually out in the ocean. And then they get bombed. They get taken out by the military. And Donald Trump says that's an active shooter. As soon as that boat leaves and enters international water, that is the equivalent of somebody walking into a school with a shotgun and pulling the trigger. And we're going to take that person out. Why? To save lives.
I don't know what they have, but whatever they have, we'd certainly release. No problem. We stopped every boat we knock out. We save 25,000 American lives.
That's right.
And if you look at our numbers, the drugs coming in through sea are down 91%. I'm surprised there's 9%. You want to? I don't know who's doing the 9%, but it's down 91, and we're going to start very soon on land, and I'm sure you're thrilled to hear that.
Look at that. I'm sure you're thrilled. We're going to start on land. We have cleared up the waterways. Nobody's bringing drugs over there. And look, they're not going to let up on the water. That's the thing. That's what Pete Hegseth said the other day. He goes, we've only just begun to knock these boats out of the water. We've only just started to get rid of these drug boats. It's a constant effort. And what's going to happen is you're going to have some people who are going to jump in, and they're going to try to get away with it. They're going to start it back up again. It's going to continue. The drug boat attacks have to continue, because what's going to happen? Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Breaking news. We've got the pipe bomber arrest. Kash Patel is speaking as we speak. Hang on. Let me grab this real quick. Let me go to X real quick. We're going to pull it up live. This is the pipe bomber announcement. So I want to make sure that we get this live. Where is it? Let me go. Hang on. I got it. Do not even worry. It is. Shoot. Can't find it. Hang on. We got it. It's coming. We're going to get this live press conference that is just announced. Kash Patel is now making an announcement. He's got Judge Jeanine on one side, and he's got somebody else on the other side, and they're making this announcement. I'm going to have to go to Newsmax to pull it up real quick. That's my bad. I should have had it ready to go. Anyway, here we go. Newsmax, because I want to make sure that we get this live TV. I'll log in. Hang on. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
As a result of that, we generated numerous investigative leads, executed multiple legal process with their U.S. attorney partners, and came to this conclusion today. And that is why we were able to safely secure this individual into custody. Remember, we are dealing with an individual who is alleged to have made bombs. We cannot do this sort of takedown in haste because it endangers the lives of law enforcement. And this FBI will never allow the lives of law enforcement and our prosecutors to be put in jeopardy. This execution was flawless in terms of teamwork, resilience, and just a good old-fashioned way of police getting the job done. When you let good cops be cops, this is what happens. I'm eternally grateful to the team behind me, to the leadership at the FBI who made this possible. But I do want to highlight, when I introduced the deputy, he made this case and so many others, including Summer Heat, his priority to come in here and solve it for the American people. And today, I'm proud to stand here before you and say, we solved it. He will have his day in court. The American public and the world will learn even more information through the legal process, as we have committed under this Attorney General. We are the most transparent law enforcement operation in U.S. history, but we are also going to make sure accountability is delivered to its fullest extent, and that happens in the courts of law with our U.S. attorneys and our prosecutors. So we will divulge information when it is prudent and constitutionally permissible, while upholding the safeguards of this case to make sure that the people that this individual intended to victimize get the accountability they deserve, and most importantly, to deliver on President Trump's promise to secure our nation's capital and the rest of the cities in this country, to make sure that Americans are allowed to go out free and securely in their neighborhoods, and that people around the world are allowed to visit our nation's capital, and they now have that trust thanks to the leadership of the FBI, the Washington Field Office, and I'm honored now to introduce to you Deputy Director Bongino, who spearheaded this investigation.
Here we go, Dan Bongino. Here he comes.
Thank you all for being here for this critical investigation we've been working on for a very long time.
It's like I'm listening to his podcast.
Thank you for the kind words, Attorney General and Director. I appreciate it. Folks, this is what it's like when you work for a president who tells you to go get the bad guys and stop focusing on other extraneous things not related to law enforcement. This is what happens. We had a great team. I know it's said a lot in this business. It was a team effort. It becomes cliche, but cliches are useful for a reason because they matter. And this was a team effort. The director and the attorney general emphasized that it was not a new public tip this came from. This was our internal work at the FBI. And I want to just really express my sincere gratitude to this attorney general and this president for allowing us the latitude. I spoke with Ms. Bondi very early when we, maybe day 2, and I said, we're going to get this guy. And she said, yes, you are. And we did. I want to also thank, he's not here, but Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who we deal with often as well, who could not have been more supportive. Whatever process we need, Judge Janine, Todd, and Attorney General Bondi, they were there. All you had to do, they were a phone call away. And their team was amazing. We actually never had to make that phone call because they were always responsive. Thank you, Judge, as well. You were amazing. Folks, you're not going to walk into our capital city, put down 2 explosive devices, and walk off in the sunset. Not going to happen. We were going to track this person to the end of the earth. There was no way he was getting away. Well, we didn't have to track him to the end of the earth. It wound up in Woodbridge, Virginia. I want to thank the team. They were amazing. They never let this go. Again, Attorney General Bondi, for your incredible support. Director Patel, Judge, I know they're giving me a lot of unnecessary credit, but make no mistake, they were intimately involved in this and were there for all of those supportive mechanisms, and I deeply appreciate it. The man whose team did the work is the Assistant Director in charge of our Washington field office, Darren Cox. Darren's got some comments, and Darren has some more details on the case he can provide. So thank you all for coming. We appreciate it.
That is so trippy to hear Dan Bongino talk about FBI stuff after listening to him.
Assistant Director in charge.
After listening to him talk about the pipe bomber for years on his podcast, now to like hear him say, "We got him."
Pipe bomber.
I mean, this
is a momentous day for the American public, for the FBI, for our Joint Terrorism Task Force, or the JTTF, and our partners, the U.S. Capitol Police, Metropolitan Police Department, and ATF. We've also had a large number of other federal, state, and local departments that have worked on this investigation. And last but not least, the U.S. Attorney's Office. We all worked hand in hand to solve this investigation. This has been a long week in D.C. After the terrorist attack last week, the grit and determination of the FBI and our law enforcement partners is an example to the American public of what cooperation, partnership, and selfless service can accomplish. The amount of effort the FBI and our partners devoted to identifying the pipe bomber cannot be overstated. It is the resolve and determination of our investigators that ultimately led to the identification and the arrest of this suspect. We all know pipe bombs are dangerous, not because of the potential loss of life, damage to property, or injury that they can cause, but also because they are tools that terrorize our community. Fortunately, these bombs did not explode, although they certainly could have. But make no mistake, the alleged pipe bomber did terrorize our community. Today's actions underscore the long memory and the long reach of the FBI and our partners. I know some people had given up on finding the perpetrator, but not the FBI and not our partners. We do not forget, we do not give up, and we do not relent. Though it had been nearly 5 years, our team continued to churn through massive amounts of data and tips that we used to identify this suspect. I want to thank Director Patel and Deputy Director Bongino for their leadership and for providing us the resources and the personnel to reevaluate all of the data that we had. We dove into more than 3 million lines of data to come up with this suspect. Director Patel, Deputy Director Bongino, thank you for your support, thank you for your passion, and thank you for your investment in this investigation. From me, on behalf of the investigators, the Washington Field Office, and all of our partners, thank you. I'd also like to thank Judge Pirro. Judge, your team and you are absolutely amazing.
It's weird that they call her
You're the type
Judge
of
Pirro
prosecutors and U.S. attorneys
and not Judge
U.S.
Jeanine.
attorney that all of the
This is so
investigators
surreal.
across the country want to work with. They're
so surreal.
hard-nosed and they're aggressive. And thank you for that.
It's surreal to see Dan Bongino
I'd also like to thank
and
the American
Judge Jeanine
the American public for providing
as,
tips
like, real people.
and leads, not just on this case, but every day on cases across the country that are being solved by law enforcement. And finally, I want to commend all of the members of the Washington field office, and most specifically, the investigative team. Their diligence and persistence led to this arrest today. And they are absolutely, totally dedicated not only to this case, but every case they work. So thank you, Washington field office. Last, I will say our work is not done. The FBI will continue to pursue every lead and use every resource that we have to ensure that the D.C. pipe bomber is brought to justice. Thank you.
Oh, look at that. Here comes Pam Bondi. I guess we'll listen to Pam Bondi, too.
You keep hearing the words partnership and team, and that's what we are. And we could not do this without our U.S. Attorney, Jeanine Pirro.
Oh, good.
Jeanine, from day one, has worked tirelessly
Yeah, let
for
Jeanine
our
Pirro
country
speak.
and for our nation's capital. It's my honor to introduce my friend, U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro.
Oh, here we go. This is exciting. What an exciting day.
Thank you very much, Attorney General.
Bring it.
And you have been listening to a lot of thank yous and a lot of gratitude. The reason that we're thanking each other to the extent that we are today is because we have seen in this case an incredible collaboration around the clock, in the middle of the night. It doesn't matter. We call each other, we make contact, they need a warrant, they need something, someone wants legal advice. These are the men and women who never give it up. You hear about government employees, but I don't know if you really realize what it is that they do. They are incredible, and this case is big. 4 years, 10 months, and 28 days ago, an individual placed a bomb in the vicinity of both the RNC and the DNC.
Yeah, 4 years.
And for that amount of time, that individual evaded accountability.
4 years.
Today, as a result of the cumulative efforts of the men and women in the FBI and the police department and the Department of Justice, we are finally able to make an arrest of an individual by the name of Brian Cole. As the Attorney General has indicated, he is arrested for transporting an explosive device in interstate commerce, as well as the attempted malicious destruction by means of explosive materials. You know, folks, this case involved millions of pieces of data. And it is a huge win because it was like finding a needle in a haystack. So much of this evidence was very specific, but a lot of it was also very general. For example, there were 233,000 black end caps of the type that were used in this case. I want you to think about the fact that the FBI had to go through the sale of every one of them to try to find commonality with an individual, along with the purchase of the pipe itself, the cap ends, the wires, the steel, and the 9-volt batteries. Every one of those had to be mined and remined to the point where we were able to then connect. And make no mistake, it was this administration, it was this president who made the decision that we were going to use all of our efforts to get it done, and get it done they did.
I mean, look what happens when you actually say we're going to do our jobs.
Today begins the formal process of accountability, where this defendant will begin his journey through the criminal justice system. And I pledge to you that the United States Attorney's Office will take this case across the finish line. Again, thank you to the incredible work of the FBI, to the Attorney General, and to our local partners as well. this is a job that I think was well done.
Look at that.
Thank you. President Trump's directive to all of us was to not only make America safe again, but D.C., and to make it safe and beautiful. We could not have done that without our partnership with Mayor Bowser and Chief Smith. It is my honor to introduce Metropolitan Police Department Chief Smith.
All right.
Okay.
You're listening.
Burn.
Cash,
Burn.
Patel, Bongino, Pirro.
For the Newsmax, like, all right, we don't need to. We only want to hear from the superstars. We only want to hear from Pam Bondi and Cash Patel and Dan Bongino and Judge Janine. We don't want to hear from the. Yeah, we're gonna pull. But what a buzzkill for her family, isn't it? Newsmax just cuts away when the police chief walks in. But look, listen, it is a monumental day, and that is what you're seeing here is not, And again, this is not the end. This is not the only thing that there's more cases, there's more crime, there's more stuff that needs to happen. I get it. And a lot of people are still, I like to celebrate the wins. I like to say, okay, this is a win. And it seems like people are doing their jobs and it seems like things are going to, and I'll be honest with you. I actually trust a lot of those people. I mean, I actually trust many of those people that we just saw. Some of those people that I'll just say that. I trust Dan Bongino because I know Dan Bongino, and I've hung out with Dan Bongino, and I've talked to Dan Bongino. And I know what Dan Bongino did before this, and I know what Dan Bongino had to give up. I mean, he was way more rich and successful at it than I was, but I know what he had to give up. This is a great job, right? What we do, it's not even a job. This is a passion. This is a fun thing that we get paid for. This is an amazing way to make a living, to talk about fixing America, making America great again, to be passionate and patriotic and turn it into a community like we've built here, Catriots all over, to be able to hang out in Mar-a-Lago every single day in illustrious downtown Jacksonville and talk to Catriots all over the world. I know it's an amazing experience, and I thank God every day for it. Dan Bongino had this times 1,000, and he walked away. I mean, the most exciting part of my day, the most joyous part of my day is when I sit down, turn on the lights, and go, oh crap, I'm 2 minutes late. And then I hit the on button. Sometimes it's 3 minutes late, sometimes it's 7. Yeah, it doesn't matter. But that's the most, when the music starts, the ba 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 ba, it's the most exciting part of my day. Don't tell my wife I said that. And what happens is, I just imagine if somebody came to me and said, we need you to give this up for 4 years and go work in a stuffy old office building, hunting down criminals, wearing a suit, not talking to anybody, and where you used to be able to openly discuss whatever was on your mind, you now have to be quiet because it could really interfere with justice. To do that is just, I gotta be honest with you, it's just incredible. I don't know that I could do it. I mean, probably. I mean, I'm running for Congress, but I feel like I could still be verbose and speak my mind. That's the best thing about running for Congress. I can be even crazier and wilder and more verbose. In fact, I think it's encouraged these days. But to be the FBI director, to investigate crime, it's really a very different thing than what he did. And so I trust him. I trust implicitly Janine Pirro for the same reason. Janine Pirro loves fighting crime and loves putting criminals away. And sure, she liked hanging out on the 5 and she liked being on Fox News and she had fancy outfits and I think she made a bunch of money, but she didn't even blink. And she said, yeah, we're going to go clean up Washington, D.C. 1,000%. And that's why I think this is legit. Now, could there be more arrests? Yes, there could. Will there be more arrests? Hopefully, yes, there will be. But this is something to celebrate. And I think that it's exciting. Now, the flip side of that is she said, Joe Biden, for 4 years, this guy was running around and Joe Biden didn't do anything. Joe Biden didn't want to do anything. First of all, Joe Biden wasn't in charge. We already know that. Second of all, Joe Biden, his administration had no interest in solving this or any other crime. They didn't want any eyeballs on January 6th. They didn't want anyone investigating January 6th or pipe bombers or the federal involvement, because there was federal involvement, as we now know. That's been corroborated. They didn't want James Comey or Christopher Wray or any of those other people spilling the secrets that they had. They wanted it all to just kind of go away, and they wanted their narrative of what January 6th was, an insurrection. They wanted that to live long and prosper. They didn't want anyone finding out the truth. That's why they didn't investigate it. Now you've got this team investigating it for 10 months, 11 months, and going through all the end caps. What did she say? 250,000 different end caps or something that they had to hunt. That's a lot of end caps. That's a lot of obnoxious, busy grunt work to find the needle in the haystack, and they found it. All right. Anyway, we'll be following that along because, like I said, that's a breaking story today, and it's very exciting. Now, the Democrats still, by the way, love criminals. So they're probably, I don't know who this guy is David Cole or Brian Cole. Brian Cole? Was it David or Brian? Hold on. There's so many names. Here it is. It is, they don't even put it in. Brian Cole Jr. Pardon me. So Brian Cole Jr., this kid, Brian Cole, I don't know anything about him yet. But oh, wait, are we back live or is this pre-recorded? Hang on, this may be live again.
He said, "Are you sitting down?" Called me on the phone. I said, "Oh boy, why? Is this bad news?" And he said, "I think we got him." What exactly that tip was, we're going to have to pass on that for right now while obviously we're in the prologue of a long book. This is just the beginning. This is not the end of the investigation, as you all well know, having reported on these for a long time. There's interviews to be conducted. The search warrant processing scene is not even done. So we're at the early stages. So that's the only reason I hesitate to tell you what the exact tip was. But yes, that was absolutely the moment. And it was due to the diligent and incredible work of a team in the Washington field office that came in and just scoured through this over and over and over and over again.
It looks like we're taking questions from the media.
Forensic? Was it a phone call? Was it something about a vehicle?
I'd rather.
They're not going to give
you generally forensic evidence. Yeah, it's fair enough to say. Excuse me?
How long ago that was?
I'd rather not say because of.
He's not going to give away
ongoing
specifics of the
interview
case.
process, and I don't
Can I
want
say one thing?
Yeah,
about
yeah.
that?
Of
I
course.
just want to add something to tell you how thorough this team was. That moment that was kind of like the aha moment, that wasn't the end. This team continued to work and work and work to get every bit of evidence that we could get. We didn't stop at that moment, and that's a testament to the fact that the team wanted every possible piece of evidence that they could gather.
One more? One more, Kelly O'Donnell.
All right, one more question. Kelly O'Donnell.
Have you recovered the notable sneakers? Have you done surveillance of this suspect from that aha moment to when you exercised the search warrants today? And obviously this happened on January 5th into January 6th. How should the public look at this case separate from all of the cases related to what transpired on January 6th and the president's subsequent pardons?
I'm going to let Director Patel take the evidence part. We have to be careful again. You've asked very good investigative questions, but this is ongoing, very active. But America should feel safer today. We say a pipe bomb. These are bombs. These were live, active bombs that were placed in Washington, D.C. Director.
Thank you. This shows you how much detail you and the American public have paid attention to this case. Of course, we analyzed everything that you're seeing on this poster board and information that you will see through the formal charging process and court process. But we want to let that evidence speak for itself because, again, we do not want to disrupt the accountability that we owe the American public. Yes, you heard about the cell phone tower data. Yes, you heard about, of course, we surveil individuals who we think we're going to blow up American citizens. But how and when we do it and why we do it is not something we're ever going to reveal unless the Department of Justice deems it fit at trial. So we appreciate your attention to detail and your hardcore investigative work, but you can just imagine some of those same skills are being utilized by this FBI, this Department of Justice, our partners, the ATF, and everybody across the board. And this is an interagency win for the American people.
Radar before.
Thank you all. And one more thing, this is the best birthday present I think Deputy Director Bongino could ask for today.
Happy birthday.
Happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Happy birthday, Dan Bongino. All right, there we go. So yeah, is it Dan Bongino's birthday? Oh, what a great birthday surprise. Surprise, we got you a pipe bomber. Surprise, pipe bomber. That's great. What a great gift. And again, really, like, what do you get for the man who has everything? That's what they always say. What do you get for the man who has everything? Get him a pipe bomb. Pipe bomber, pardon me. Anyway, so that's the end of, that's the beginning of this new saga. So we're very excited about that. And it was really, I did want to play you this one thing though, because it's important before we go. We were talking about the boats. We were talking about the bombing of the boats, the drug boats in Venezuela, the saving of the American lives and how the Democrats hate it. Yesterday, we played you all the clips from The View and from the various different Democrat senators, all of whom were saying, look, these aren't narco-terrorist isn't even a word. It's made up. These are narco traffickers, which so semantics makes it better. What, killing 25,000 people is okay if you're a narco trafficker? That's okay. I don't understand how they come to that conclusion. But anyway, here's Stephen Miller talking to Jesse Waters about this whole thing.
This is the first time I can ever think where a major political party has sided with narco trafficking, murdering, terrorist scum. You play one of those clips from a Democrat who said, oh, there's no such thing as a narco-terrorist. They're just narco-persons. The ISIS and these narco-terrorists in our hemisphere use the same tactics. They use rape as a weapon. They skin people alive. They cut off their heads. They burn them to death. These narco-terrorists, if a politician opposes them, they kidnap their family. If they don't give them what they want, they murder their family. You can go to the Border Patrol here in the United States and you can say, draw me a map of the border, and on the Mexican side, tell me which cartel controls every inch of territory. And the border agents can literally say, mile by mile, which cartel controls which section of the border. Not the Mexican government, they don't control it, which cartel. When President Trump declared these organizations foreign terrorist organizations, that wasn't just a talking point. That wasn't just a buzzword. It was a promise from this president to use hard American power to kill and to stop these terrorists, these enemies of the United States, from killing our families, from killing our children, from taking over our communities. And that's what President Trump is doing.
Yeah, that sounds like here. That's a good, I think that's probably an excellent stopping point. Listen, there's a lot going on that we need to talk about. And of course, one of the things is that we have a president in office who is not afraid to mince words, who is not afraid of being politically correct. And when you're not afraid to mince words and you're not afraid of being politically correct, and when you know the enemy and when you call it out, things get done. And that's one of the biggest issues that we've had with prior administrations. They were too scared to call out the real enemy, whether it's narco-terrorists, whether it's Somalians who are embezzling funds, whoever it is, whoever the enemy is, President Donald Trump is going to put a name to it. If it's the fake news media, Donald Trump's going to say it's the fake news media, and he's going to call them out. And that's why he's so successful. One of the things I wrote about in my book, Go Trump Yourself, 10 Ways to Live Like Trump in Any Economy, is Donald Trump's ability to point to something bad and say it's bad. Too many politicians don't do that. They're afraid of losing votes. They're afraid of losing support. They're afraid of losing, money, but they're just going to lose. They're going to lose it all if they don't do that. We all have to start doing that. We have to know the difference between right and wrong. And that's one of the reasons why Donald Trump was so successful. And that's why I wrote this book as well. Go Trump Yourself. Now you can get the digital bundle delivered instantly. It's an audiobook and it's an ebook, so you can read and listen to me read if you prefer the entire thing. It's only $24 at gotrumpyourself.com. You can read all the reviews. Tons of people have gotten this book and read it and they love it, and the reviews are all right there. It tells you that this is not just a book about President Trump, it's about you too. So get the bundle. You can take it wherever you go. You can listen to me read it. It's fantastic. It's available right now at gotrumpyourself.com. Also, thank you so much for subscribing to this particular podcast, wherever you're watching. I appreciate it. If you're not yet subscribed, go ahead and hit that button, because we're going to be back tomorrow for, is it Friday already? Holy cow. A little Ching Chat Friday action tomorrow. I'm very excited about that. And I hope that you'll join us whenever we have new content, because there's a lot going on. As you can see, there's always new information. There's always new threats. There's always new things you need to do to prepare to protect yourself and your future and your family and your finances. You always need to be diligent. And you need to make sure that you are watching your back and watching other people's backs. And that's why we come together every single day as Patriots. So we can learn together, so we can live together, so we can pray together, so we can fight together. And it's going to take us all fighting so we can save the Republic. By the way, we have the poker tournament tonight. The Case Kids Poker Tournament. So I'm gonna go to that. I'll have some great stories for you tomorrow. And we're kicking off our Case Kids on Monday. Monday, we kick off our Case Kids 12 Day